So, a long time ago, you all may know that I ended up reviewing a fantastic fanfic called Fire and Ice. It is still my favorite Trolls fanfiction to this very day. It's even my favorite Broppy fanfiction to this very day, unlike my book. However, there was a sequel-prequel that ended up being released when it came to the fanfic. It was called New Life Together, and we're going to review it today. So the plot for this book in particular, I have already said it was a sequel-prequel. The main reason it is a sequel-prequel is because it is a sequel to Fire and Ice after it, and it's a prequel to the epilogue that was seen at the end of Fire and Ice as an epilogue. Obviously, we know that this is all going to take place with Branch finally proposing to Poppy.
Wait, will you marry me?
And the means necessary to get there, and how we get to the epilogue before we go on to another sequel. And if you have not read Fire and Ice before you start reading this book, I totally recommend that you do read Fire and Ice beforehand, because everything else in New Life Together will not make sense unless you read Fire and Ice, obviously. Now, obviously, the book has a lot of great things going for it. Even the author went on to say there's going to be fluff occasionally, even though the only fluff I really saw was a few kind of spelling-ish errors, a few grammar errors, but they weren't really anything that took away from the story a bit, especially with all the emotion that's in mind with the story. Now, here, though, their relationship is much stronger than it was. We get to see more of the, how do I put this without making it so adult? Seductive side of Poppy? I'm not kidding. When I read that one specific part with the whole dancing thing the first time, and, hearing Poppy speak like that, I was kind of taken aback because of the fact that it's like, oh, I never thought they'd behave like this. But I like it that way. The main reason is that, it kind of develops the relationship more, and it's like, oh, look, the two are clearly going for more, and they like to build that up a lot, and it's super interesting. Obviously, it does come off as a bit jarring, and even the author makes a line going out to say, like, I wish that they wouldn't do that, but you also wouldn't want them to stop doing it, ever, and I totally get it there, because in certain situations, like a public area, sometimes sexual talk like that is out. And when it's the correct time, it's totally the correct time. And I like that they were able to make that clear in this story. So, there's not really a lot that I could say regarding criticism. I mean, the emotion is pretty good, just like Fire and Ice. The plot's pretty good, with a really interesting thing detailing what Autumn can clearly get away with in a story like this, and even going, that kind of route. I'm glad that she's not taking, any, gore-ish routes. I'm also glad she's not taking sexual routes. But I am glad that they're including a little bit more of the flirty talk, which is legit fun. Regardless, I'm gonna go down the plot entirely, so let's go ahead. It pretty much just starts out like Branch pretty much getting his stuff ready like he normally should. Then Poppy shows up, and they can't really hug both of them because with both arms, because of the fact that he has stuff in his hands. He's basically here wanting Poppy and Peppy to go on a picnic, to basically have a time whenever he wants to hang out with them, and to be able to ask Peppy for Poppy's hand in marriage. But before he can ask Peppy the question, parents, specific parents, what are their names?
I need to go through this because I need it. What are their names again?
Sorry. Brooke is the mother's name, and
who's the father's name? The father's name.
Acorn. That's it. So Acorn and Brooke, they all they're out asking the Queen and everybody else to help them find their kids. Of course, they end up tracking their kids with our buddy Ripple to a specific site where it seemed like a rock avalanche happened. and it seems like Branch is gonna have to find them and get them out. They find one, Posey. She basically has been screaming and shouting for help so much that her throat hurts, and hurts. They get her out, but their other son, I don't know what the son's name. Basil is her name. That's it. Basil ended up getting the worst treatment because of the fact that he ended up getting stuck in the avalanche. His arm got crushed and it's kind of scarred. What? Alright, Branch gets the boulder off and he uses his vest to help it to like conceal the blood from leaking and then leading to certain death. They get him out, and it seemed like Branch and Basil are going to be stuck down there, but Poppy's able to get them out as quick as possible. The parents and the children reunite, they take them back to Dr. Flimsy, and it seems like everything's pretty good. Posey, all she needs is just liquids and rest, and Basil needs like a bandage, like a cleaner bandage, and then some like
I think antibiotics. Well, not really antibiotics. What was in particular?
Oh yeah, herbs that would soothe the pain until it heals. They end up meeting the snack pack because of the whole worrying thing, and then they have a party based on it, which, you know, is totally Troll's thing there. And I'm not even saying that from a condescending thing like, oh yeah, like that's totally Troll's thing. No, I mean like it is Troll's thing. Because of the fact that it's like, of course the Trolls would throw a party just for the fact that they saved 2 kids. Or even 3. Okay. Regardless, Poppy and Branch get in a bit of flirty manner when it comes to the dancing. But we also get a ton of good emotional moments in this scene in particular, which I absolutely like. Yeah. I just really love Poppy and Branch's relationship here. Because of the fact that it got much stronger and they're going a little bit further than normal, which is always a plus. That's always a big, big plus. Because you always want to develop a relationship further so that we may feel for them whenever something happens or or we keep on hoping, oh my God, they're going to get together, they're going to propose and everything. We are going to hope that Poppy says yes and everything like that. That's what you need to build up through the entire thing, and I really like that. Another thing is basically that it's all like hip and cool, and the snack pack also kind of they also kind of like legit kind of speak that way too, because of the fact that they go on to say, "Hiya, Branch."
You mind if we start a dance partner just a bit?
It's just insane. It's like, you've been hogging her, it's our turn. It's just kind of funny that way. Like, to me, that is legit funny. However, I still think that this is kind of this sounds like a euphemism. Legit. Like, right here it says, Branch, we really gotta work on that endurance of yours. That will always come off as some sort of euphemism. Do either dancing or some other thing. But another thing that was pretty funny too was, okay, go cool down, but when you're done, come find me. It's just kind of funny. I'll never, ever, ever look at them the same way again, but I love it that way. Anyway, after that dance sang, which was pretty funny, I need to take a breath. Peppy and Branch finally take a walk, and they finally get it in. This is where the emotion really hits. I'm not gonna repeat a line back because that will inevitably spoil what emotion there is, but the emotion is great. I love the emotion. As I've said many times, when I criticize something, the emotion is clearly what I look at first, compared to everything else, because the emotion has to be strong and tender in order for people to actually feel something. And that's what like stretches to other things too. If we feel for the characters, we'll be more interested in the story. If we feel for the characters, we'll actually laugh at the humor. If we feel for the characters, then if something bad happens, we'll feel bad for it, etc. And it'll literally go on forever and ever. So, yeah. Peppy, of course, does give the proposal thing, obviously, and Branch goes off with new ideas. This was an ultimately short review. But trust me, I do recommend that that you guys start reading this chapter. And obviously, I've got more in mind when it comes to of course I'm going to review chapters, obviously, and remember, the reason why this fantastic fanfic was so short is because it's only getting started. This is literally the first chapter out of many to come. Fire and Ice had the advantage of multiple chapters. Like, by the time I reviewed Fire and Ice for the first time, we were already like 7 chapters in, maybe 8. We're going 8, and then we were at 7. Yeah, 7. But yeah, and then we kind of moved on with 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, and then I did 12, the epilogue, live. I also did the final chapter, 11, live, and I will also be reading every chapter from chapter 2, continuing on live if we want to. It'll have to be at times when we can clearly be in the stream, obviously, but you guys know what I'm meaning. Anyway, that was a lot I can say. It's about the same as Fire and Ice regarding quality. It's pretty good. The emotion is really good. The quality moments are pretty good. However, it's the same quality as Fire and Ice, but there are 2 specific things that make it better so far, with just 1 chapter in. One is the funny, seductive behavior. It's super funny, and it just comes off out of nowhere, and it makes me both uncomfortable and super intrigued at the same time. And, of course, the whole getting away with the whole rock avalanche incident thing. That was ballsy to take on, and I never thought that we'd be going into something like that. I know that Fire and Ice definitely had moments like that too, where we literally thought, where Branch literally had a nightmare where he thought Poppy was just gonna like freeze into ice and then disintegrate. Jesus. But actually taking on but the rock avalanche was clearly real, so that was pretty ballsy. And don't worry, that's not a bad thing. The ballsy stuff is a good thing because you're allowing the conflict to become more real. And look, I know that a lot of people may take Fire and Ice as like, this is cheesy romance drama crap. But here's the thing. I like this romance because it's played up realistically. And it's played up extremely well. There's only like one thing I don't like, but it's literally just a nitpick. The only thing I personally don't like is the fact that Peppy gets here and like Branch is able to like put his things down. Then... It's one of those moments where it's like Poppy's going in for a kiss and everything like that, and Branch is like, whoa, not in front of your dad, and I'm like, no, it's Mr. Incorporated all over again. I'm gonna get to Mr. Incorporated soon enough, but a problem with that is there was a particular romance that they never played in any of the Scooby-Doo franchises. And then it's like, oh, we can't do this right here because not in front of Scoob. And I'm like, really? But at least Autumn does it better here. She does it way better. Like, way better. Like, a million times better. Majorly better. Because of the fact that... because of this, here it's like, Poppy, not in front of your dad, and it's like, Branch, relax, he's seen us kiss before, and it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean he wants to. There's a legit reason. It's like, there's actually a legit reason, with Mr. Incorporated, it was like, oh, I don't want to hurt his feelings. It's like, really? Here, it's like, oh, I don't want your dad to be mad. Or he might not accept our relationship. That's it. That's what it is. Anyway, that's the only nitpick. Even with that nitpick, she did it clearly better. Anyway, that was pretty much my fantastic fanfic review of New Life Together. In all retrospect, it's not really a fantastic fanfic review of the story itself. It's more of chapter 1 than anything else, because there's clearly going to be more chapters soon. Also, this is going to be longer than the Fire and Ice chapters. It's going to be much more, like, elaborate, but it's going to be, like, insane. In fact, as she puts it, yeah, it's going to have a lot more going on, way more. And this one being fully planned out and much longer than the first, which means wait extra long. I swear, we'll all look back on this story a year later and we'll be like, man, we had something to do during this coronavirus outbreak, and now we're looking back on it. I'm like, hey, remember when that happened? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, especially with iMovie, and I am going to try my best to do whatever I possibly can to enforce the story as much as possible. But seriously, if you guys have not read New Life Together, I recommend you go read it. And if you haven't seen Fire and Ice before New Life Together, go read Fire and Ice and then go read New Life Together. It's gonna be long, but trust me, it'll all be worth it. And if you need, and I promise, I wouldn't tell you that it wasn't. I wouldn't tell you it was good, and then just lie to you and say, it wasn't good. No, this really was. Fire and Ice really was a good story. I recommend it. And here we're finally getting everything that happened after Fire and Ice, but before the epilogue. But something that I particularly don't like when it came to the epilogue, and this is the only thing, it's like, we already know how it's all going to turn out in the epilogue. They're going to clearly get together as husband and wife. They're going to clearly have kids. It's like, we know. But that's the thing. We don't know how it happened. We know that it does happen, but we don't know how. That's what this story is going to do. It's going to fill us in on the how and the why, which is what I like. Anyway, thank you so much, and I am seriously needing to shut up. Anyway, thank you, and as always, I will see you in the next video. And before we go, I know. Anyway, before we go, there's going to be another fantastic fanfic soon enough. This one, however, is going to be a surprise. However, I am going to make it clear who the author is. It's Emmy. Bye!